want is already here in my head.
What? On one hearing only?
I think so, sire. Yes.
Show us.
The rest is just the same, isn't it? It doesn't really work, does it? Did you try? Shouldn't it be a bit more? Or this? This? Yes. Better? What do you think?
Welcome to Practical AI, everybody. My name's Jeff, and I'm with Peter Lynn. Peter, I want to ask you a little bit about a YouTube video that Yannick Kilcher put out in the recent days, and kind of a fascinating experiment where he took just a tweet, text from a tweet that he thought was maybe not as clever or interesting as it could have been, and he ran it through a daisy chain series of AI, and ended up with something that was much more expressive and much more interesting, and probably would have much better engagement.
So what I actually mean by this is an actual functioning website, and I'll tell you where to find it later, but the clue about it is this. I enter some post here. I can use text and or images, so let's use the text. Went for a nice run this morning. Okay, I post that. It's gonna take some time to process. So what came out is this: feeling so alive and energized. Nothing beats a morning jog in the park, especially when it's beautiful out. Hashtag morning vibes. Okay, let's go through this step by step, pun intended, of what's going on. First, I take this post and I push it to an online database. After that, a special worker pulls that message and sends it to OpenAI's image creation API, also known as DALL-E 3. And the prompt to this AI is the following. It says, create an image that visually transmits the following message. And I post the message, and then I say, make the message into a pictogram, a visual representation of the message. Do not use text. Actually, I have a debug output of what that looked like for this particular image, and this is this. Now, the do not use text was sort of not really paid attention to, but this is the picture that the DALL-E model made out of my message. All right, but we're not done there. See, we take this picture and we send it through OpenAI's GPT-4 vision model in order to describe the image. So I send the image to OpenAI again and say, describe this image to a person with impaired vision. Be short and concise. And here we have the text that OpenAI says it is. This image features an animated scene with a woman running in a park during sunrise. The sun is shining brightly in the background, casting a warm glow. The woman has long hair, yada, 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 and the text, yada, yada, yada. So given that this picture has text, this might have played out a bit better than I hoped. But then finally, once I get this representation, there comes the final prompt. And the final prompt goes to GPT-3.5 Turbo, so ChatGPT. It says, I have a new social network where posts get encrypted into image descriptions. Your job is to decrypt these messages and guess the original post. Here's a procedure. The user posts a post. The text is used as the input of an AI text-to-image generator. The image is fed to an AI image captioning model, and the output is whatever I got. Your task is to guess the original post. And what you see as the result here is the final output of that model. So we took the text.
Can you explain to us a little bit about what Kilcher was thinking and what method he used to get this, to daisy chain essentially AIs together and come up with something that was maybe better than what the human had even thought up themselves?
Yeah, so basically he had seen a tweet that inspired this kind of thought experiment. And what he did was he actually used ChatGPT. He had a prompt. The prompt generated a response, and then from the response he generated an image using DALL-E. And then from that, he generated more stuff. And so he just chained things together. And it's a fun experiment because other people have done this. Like there was a talk last year by another AI researcher, and his talk was about how to detect generated responses. And he actually fed his abstract into ChatGPT, and it actually produced a variation of his abstract that actually he thought was actually more appealing and more interesting. And so
Yeah.
this is a kind of a interesting experiment that people are playing with.
What I found fascinating about this one, and we'll include the link below, but one of the hops that he took was to take the quote, the tweet, and I think the next step was to feed it into an image maker.
Yeah.
Which essentially now that so he had used like a Midjourney or something to develop an image. Was it DALL-E? Okay. DALL-E to develop an image that represented this tweet. And then from the image, he asked another, and I think it was one of the earlier versions of ChatGPT even, right? It was like ChatGPT 2.5 or something like that, or 2 or
yeah.
And asked it to create a caption for this thing. And then I think it had made one more hop until it became this expressive thing. What was really fascinating is that unlike when you translate, either play operator or translate from, English to Chinese and back to English, nothing was lost and it seemed like more was gained. Was that your interpretation as well?
No, so for me, what's interesting is when you do these kind of thought experiments, you start to really poke at what the boundaries are, what the limitations are, right? In his video, and I recommend people watch it, he shows some examples where the prompt actually generated an image that was kind of not really useful. And so that goes back to the question of now, how do you engineer your prompt to get the best looking image, which then will give you the best caption, right? So then as you do these steps, you still have to kind of think about, if I give it kind of the naive prompt or the naive request, I'm probably not going to get the best result out of that. And so I have to engineer that prompt so that it gets the best result. And so in the kind of Microsoft space and in the OpenAI space, there's a term called RAG, which is response augmented generation, where you modify your prompt to kind of optimize the result you get. And when you do a prompt for DALL-E, you can ask it, you can set it like, give me 1 sample or 4 samples or 8 samples. And then after it generates, there's a button that says regenerate. And the fun thing is when you start playing with this, you can kind of, you can write a program that does multiple generations. And then the question is, how do you pick the best one without a human actually looking at it?
So in Yannick's version or his experiment, was he picking between multiple images that he liked and then going to the next step, or was he recasting the AI
I don't know.
Okay.
I think in the video he shows a few examples of where because he actually logs the requests. He set it up and people could use it, but it was rate limited by OpenAI because there's a rate limit on how many requests you can send per minute. And so he shows some examples where the image it generated was not very good. And so as a result, the caption for it was not very good.
Well, it's funny. He called his little daisy chains of AIs litter to compete with Twitter, and he actually had a link where you could go and experiment with it. It was open for like 4 or 5 days, and then he shut it down. But we'll include this in the link or in the caption below. And like Peter said multiple times, watch it. It's a fascinating experiment, and one that if could be perfected without human involvement would be pretty interesting for creative types in particular.
Yeah, it'll be a couple more years before it gets really automated. Right now, you still need a human in there to apply aesthetics and judgment. Like, okay, I got 30 different generations. Which ones are the best?
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and we will try to put out more content. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.